to our webinar. Yes, as you were informed previously, we will be recording the meeting. Um, Today we will share with you some of the um, highlights of Bridge PS project. Today the master of ceremony is Alice Guitard. She will take over and introduce our speakers. But I would like to start with a brief presentation on Bridge PS. Okay, so I hope you are saying it right. Okay, so you are here today because you were probably engaged with the Bridge PS project one way or another, and we invited all of you to join us to so that we get to tell you what we have been doing with the input that you provided. Well, my name is Pınar Uygurar. I am the project manager of the Bridge PS project, which is coordinated by the Institute of Marine Sciences of Middle East Technical University in Turkey. So this is our agenda for today. I am filling in for our coordinator who couldn't be here today due to overlapping schedules, but we have very interesting speakers for you from our work package. And as I said, Alice from Athens Technical University will get back to you on uh, the specific slots that we have today. We have quite a good time for discussion at the end, but we will also get questions after each presentation. So most of you have even probably seen this presentation and heard, but as a quick recap, you may remember that the Bridge PS, the blue economy journey, it was called Blue Growth back then, started already in 2017 in line with the Common Maritime Agenda, which had Black Sea Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda as its scientific pillar. This agenda has developed a vision for the Black Sea, for it to be more sustainable and healthier by 2030. And with that purpose, two projects has been funded called Bridge PS and Doors projects in 2021, and these projects have been very active in the region implementing the Black Sea Syria. Um, the Black Sea Syria and implementation plan was further advanced and developed under Black Sea Connect project. Some of you may also attended some of its meetings. Oops. So the implementation plan has been launched already 2 years ago at the European Parliament, and it lays out the cutting edge activities that needs to be completed in the Black Sea. And as I said, Bridge PS and Doors projects are already advancing within this framework of Black Sea Syria and implementation plan. In that context, the Bridge PS project has started. We are ending the project in November, so it's been already 4.5 years full of activities with a consortium that you see consisting of the leading marine science institutes in Europe and also in the Black Sea. Well, what does Bridge Black Sea project aims? As you know, Black Sea is very unique and essential in providing many ecosystem services. But as you all know, the ecosystem services and the ecosystem is under multiple stressors such as overfishing, warming, and pollution. What our project aims to do is to map, monitor, and model these ecosystem services and their response to these stressors, so that we can identify a safe operating space in which blue economy can further advance in the region. Well, these are our work packages. Of course, what's important for us today is that what you will hear in the webinar today is the work of some specific work of the project under the work packages, but the way that Bridge PS is developed is very interconnected with each other. So you will be hearing from many of the work conducted from other work packages as well. The Speaking of ecosystem services, we identified the pilot sites in the region, and the work that I mentioned is conducted on the specific pilot sites and basin-wide as well. Just to go over very, very quickly, we have a modeling work package to identify the ecosystem dynamics under multi stressors. These are geochemical and ecosystem state under climate and non-climate stressors. And as you can see, we already have good results. And we have also developed, to have these kind of simulations, we have developed an ensemble modeling, which is done for the first time in the Black Sea. And through this modeling, we have also run good environmental status indicators for policy support for MSFD and also in support of the SDG 14. Another unique aspect for Black Sea, Bridge Black Sea, is the resilience assessments that is done for the first time in the Black Sea to identify the ecosystem limits to these stressors that I mentioned, so that it provides input to the safe operational space that we wish to have in the Black Sea. Another aspect which you will hear more later today in the presentation is that the adaptive management strategies that the Bridge PS is developing by employing decision support tools and models and artificial intelligence. One of these tools is the cumulative effects assessment tool and the scenarios that are run through that tool, which you will hear, and all these will provide into the adaptive recommendations for the use of policymakers. From the more practical side, Bridge has been doing a lot of field work by conducting cruises at the pilot side and also basin side using smart monitoring, state-of-the-art observation tools. What you see here is just a selection, of course, but we have used many more tools, which helped us to identify the most recent state of the multi-stressors and develop new process. I will not tell more about that because today we are doing our first webinar, but the second webinar will focus on specifically smart monitoring technologies that were used in the project. So it will take place on 3rd July. My colleagues will now drop the chat if you want to hear more about that. And of course, all the data collected under the project is now available on the BridgePS database that also has some historical data and integrated into Sea.net for the use of all the stakeholders. One of the, again, unique aspects of the Bridge PS has been the living labs, and which are co-creation platform developed at the very local level. So I will leave Alice to tell you more about these interesting events. And yeah, for enhancing science and business dialogue, the project has organized 2 editions of the High Tech Summit for the Black Sea, which were the platforms to bring academia, industry, policy, and investors together. And then jointly with DOORS project, we have run a Black Sea Accelerator program, and 2 cohorts of participants participated in the program. In total, 19 business from 12 countries. And I see that some of them are also joining us today. So it's very nice. And we already follow their successes that they take the program to the next step. From the policy side, the project has conducted a lot of activities to ensure continuous science and policy dialogue. The first step was the forum that took place already 2 years ago in Thessaloniki, but more recently, activities such as bringing together young diplomats and early career ocean professionals in a workshop, and also webinars directly targeting the policymakers to inform them on the scientific results were conducted, engaging over 400 people. Well, as a next step on that, we are planning still some consultations to get input on the project outputs. And we are planning a final Bridge BS conference in Brussels in October, the last week of October. And we have been developing a Bridge BS dedicated policy brief together with European Marine Board. From the capacity building and education side, we have developed many new platform structures such as Virtual Blue Career Center, Ocean Literacy Network to advance the awareness in the region. And yeah, I think a flagship of the project together with Black Sea Connect has been the Young Ambassador program, which has had now 2 cohorts of young people advocating for the Black Sea, as well as the PhD program, which involves already 12 young professionals directly on the project work, and other activities that are on the ground with students and raising awareness. I want to tell you more on the projects, but we have designed the webinar series for specifically have this time to tell you more. As I mentioned, the next one is on the 3rd July, and the third one will be on the Bridge Black Sea demonstrator, because as you can see here, we are developing based on the modeling work, some of which you will see today. They are feeding into a Black Sea demonstrator, integrating all the project outputs, which will be a decision support tool, and that will be launched in September, and we will also keep you informed about that. So I guess that's all from me as to set the stage and what the project has been doing. And we will, we are happy to have so many of you here today, and we hope to see you in the next webinars as well. Thank you, and over to you, Alice.
Thank you very much, Pinar. Good morning, everyone. So I will moderate this webinar on scenario today. So let me share my screen. Sharing. So I hope you can see. So today you will hear about 3 different types of scenarios. But first of all, I will make a short introduction on how those scenarios are feeding to one another, and not just those 3 scenarios, but like all the different scenarios that have been developed as part of the Bridge Black Sea project. So in general, we can develop many different types of scenarios. There is many different definitions for different purposes. So as part of the Bridge project, we first of all develop some imaginary blue scenarios that will be presented today that can be considered as possible scenarios. So they provide an insight of the future, something that might happen. We also developed quantitative scenarios, so biophysical modeling scenarios and socioeconomic scenarios, that here we can present them as a projection of the future. So they're generally based on current and future trends, and they're often classified as probable scenarios. And finally, 2 other types of scenarios that will be presented today as well. So first of all, the transformative pathways, and the desirable scenarios, that they are what we call preferable scenarios. So they are scenarios that are based on value judgment and that we would like to happen and that should preferably happen. So they often consider as a sustainable scenarios. So looking at how those scenarios are feeding one another. So first of all, we have the quantitative scenarios within the Bridge project, which were those socioeconomic scenarios and those biophysical modeling scenarios that fed into the desired scenarios based on the cumulative impact assessment that you will hear more about today. And then we developed those imaginaries blue economy scenarios and stakeholders driven visions, and those type of visions, they also fed into those desired scenarios. And those type of scenarios, they're more qualitative. And finally, we have what we call more like a proposition management actions. So the desired scenarios based on the cumulative impact assessment. From there, we are deriving adaptive management measures. And on the side, we've been also developing transformative pathways with local stakeholders that are based on the visions and that are also linked with the adaptive management measures that the project will develop. And finally, this will be, so on one side, we will apply a resilient analysis on the transformative pathways, but also resilience analysis will be taken into the considerations when deriving the adaptive management measures. And finally, all those results from those different type of scenarios will be compiled in a blue policy roadmaps, which will be one of the main output of the Bridge Black Sea project. So without further ado, we're gonna dive into those three scenarios today. So I will give the floor to Clément Dupont from SRL that will present the imaginary blue economy scenario. So Clément is a geographer, he's a consultant at SML, which is a French consultancy specialized on maritime topics. Clément, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alice. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Can you see it?
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's loading.
Yes, now it's there.
Yes.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Good, thanks. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today. So over the 10 to 15 minutes coming, I'll present the work we carried out at SML as part of the Bridge project. It's a foresight exercise entitled 2050 Sustainable Blue Economy Imaginaries for the Black Sea. In a nutshell, we've built 4 fictional but plausible images of what the blue economy could look like in the Black Sea in 2050, assuming that sustainability is achieved. We think it's important to share with you today, not only because of the story they tell and the questions they raise, but also because we strongly believe this kind of exercise can support decision makers and stakeholders in navigating the coming times. It seems that we're not the only one who thinks that this is useful, actually, because foresight exercises such as ours are becoming more and more common. Here are 2 examples that we've seen recently, one from the European Commission on Fisheries of the Future, and another one from Plan Bleu and ADEME on touristic in one of the French Med regions. Again, they focused on this 2050 deadline. It's a popular one. It feels both far enough to think a bit radically and close enough to feel urgent. There's a probability that many things will change by 2050, geopolitics, climate, energy, and that's basically the purpose of this work, to anticipate a bit. So different to prospective and modeling, the exercise that we conducted is mostly qualitative. We use it not to predict the future, but to explore multiple futures and challenges that could be related to them. This is most often done by playing with variables such as climate, technology, well-being, or energy. In our case, we used innovation and governance, but I'll come back to it. There's many interests in that type of exercise. The first one is to foster collective thinking, creating a shared space to challenge assumptions and explore possible futures. It's also a good way to engage stakeholders in shaping transitions, strengthening ownership and adaptability in the face of change. And finally, ultimately, to support decision makers in navigating uncertain conditions. So I showed you 2 examples. The work that we conducted actually used one of the scenarios, imaginaries, produced at a European level by the EEA, the European Environment Agency. The work was called Scenarios for a Sustainable Europe in 2050. It imagined 4 plausible and contrasting visions of a sustainable Europe using 2 main variables: governance, which could be either very centralized at European level or very decentralized, either at national or local level, and innovation, which can be either very technological, high-tech, or very social and accordingly low-tech. So these are the 4 scenarios that came up of this work from the EA. I give you their names, but we'll come back to it in a few seconds. The first one is technocracy for the common goods. The second one is unity in adversity. The third one is great decoupling. And the last one is ecotopia. So basically, these scenarios were developed at European level and were mostly terrestrial. They dealt with agriculture, with urban planning, with city, with mobility, but not much was said about blue economy sectors. So the first thing that we did in order to adapt them to the Black Sea region was to adapt it to the blue economy sectors. Then we ran kind of a diagnosis of the Black Sea blue economy on one side and what we call maritime and coastal capital, saying natural heritage, resources, institutions, etc. And this diagnosis allowed us to, to adapt the scenarios to the Black Sea context. We also tried to factor in the impacts of the war on the region's economy and dynamics. And we also considered the local differences from pilot sites to another and what these futures might mean in these specific pilot sites. And finally, we tested these imaginaries with 3 rounds of engagement with stakeholders, scientists, diplomats, students, local stakeholders. And I'll come back to what we got from them. So let's quickly dive in these scenarios. Here is the first one. It's called technocracy for the common goods. In this future, technological innovation has been very high, and governance is strongly centralized at national level. It's state-led, even protectionist. Overall, global trade has decreased a lot. Countries rely more on domestic production, which has some impacts on shipping, but also fisheries, for instance. Human activities are tightly monitored through centralized surveillance systems, which are very efficient to reduce impacts, but also raise concerns about privacy and overreach. And in that context, biodiversity is mainly seen as a reservoir of resources. It's managed effectively for commercial resources, but non-economic biodiversity tends to be a bit neglected. So that's the first one. You see on the top right, these variables that we've set, and you'll see in the coming ones that they change across one another. Let me jump to the second one. Here we go. Second one, the key driver is cooperation. This is unity in adversity, and the governance in that scenario would be coordinated at Black Sea level. Countries would adopt a smart specialization approach, focusing on their comparative strengths to advance the regional blue economy. MPAs would be created based on ecosystem needs and not national borders. It's a really cooperating Black Sea approach. And ecosystem services would be at the core of political action and decision-making, using a lot of consultation. So it's a very cooperative scenario. Oh, sorry. Oh, I wasn't showing the right one. Sorry. So let's jump to the third one. The third one is called the great decoupling. This is a world where technological breakthrough have made it possible to decouple economic growth from environmental degradation. So basically energy, biotechs, algae-based products have allowed to get zero carbon energy. Innovation has become a form of soft geopolitical powers, with countries racing for leadership. The marine environment is actively engineered compared to the last one. It's mostly active restoration. Therefore, regulation is a bit minimal. It's a mostly liberal approach to resource exploitation. But active restoration allows to maintain environmental thresholds. It's a bit of a science fiction one, but we hope this can happen. And the last one is Ecotopia. It's a very social innovation-oriented scenario. Governance is fully local. This is a degrowth scenario in a way. It pushes the variables to the extremes. In that case, community pursue local self-sufficiency, focusing on low-tech, low-energy solutions. There's a shift away from the coast. Inland migration reduce coastal pressures in a way. In that case, ecosystem protection has become some kind of societal priority, and participatory culture is central as well. The blue economy, as a result, is small scale, community-led, and is focused on repair, maintenance, and resilience. So that's a very quick snapshot of these possible futures. Now let me show you what can happen when you discuss this, use this as the basis to discuss with stakeholders. So as I told you, we've engaged at 3 occasions with local stakeholders from both touristic sectors, fisheries, academia, and local institutions. We asked them different questions. One of the first one that is interesting to see is, how do you think the world will be different? How different do you think the world will be in 2050? And you see that most participants consider that it will be at least very different, if not extremely different. So 2050 is, again, far, but close enough. In that case, we were discussing touristic scenarios, and we asked participants what would be the main drivers to this change. And you see in this word cloud that climate change comes as a key issue driver in that case, but also political situation, awareness of over-tourism, etc. So that's the first part. And the second part is discussing the scenarios themselves. So we asked both what scenarios would be the most probable, so according to current trends and current policies, but also what would be the most desirable scenarios. And at the same time, we asked about the most irrealistic one and the most sustainable one. And the results that we got are quite interesting. In both cases, we see that participants consider that the current policies and trends in their local sites or at the Black Sea level were mostly directed towards a technocracy for the common good kind of scenario, using huge monitoring systems, etc. But when thinking about subjective desires, the preferences for one scenario to occur, mostly people voted for Ecotopia, the degrowth one, which also was considered the most sustainable, and a lot for unity in adversity, which was the cooperation scenario again, and so something that people wanted to see happen. So that's something that we find interesting that could be of use when dealing with local workshops and trying to set a common vision for the future. This allows to raise questions that are not often raised, such as what sustainability means. It can actually translate into several forms of activities on the ground. Overall, that's it for me. We really believe that this type of exercise can be of use in different ways as a collective tool, maybe in living labs, for instance, to stimulate discussions and creative thinking. That wasn't possible due to timing on the work that Alice will present you in a few minutes. But it could have been a basis for this discussion. And actually, we often see echoes from elements of our scenarios, imaginaries, and the visions that local stakeholders have defined. And we also think it's an interesting input for more technical work, like Sophia's will be presenting in a few minutes as well for their mapping and spatial modeling work, where 2 of the scenarios, the Ecotopia and the technocracy, were integrated to explore cumulative impacts that would be generated by this kind of feature. That's it for me. If you found this interesting, you can obviously have a look at the complete report, which we've tried to make visual and entertaining for you to read. Thanks a lot. And over to you, Alice, for the rest.
Thank you very much, Clément, for your presentation. Very, very interesting work. What is also extremely interesting, I found in your survey, is that so the one that that stakeholders or respondents are really wishing to happen is the ecotopia, but they also consider this one as the most unrealistic one. So it's quite interesting how people don't believe that much about sustainability in the end. That's a shame. But we need to change that. And actually, my presentation on the transformative pathways is going towards that sense. How concretely we can try to go towards this sustainable future. So first of all, before me continuing, do we have any questions in the audience related to the work that Clément presented? Anybody wants to take the floor?
Maybe it's a good time to remind people that they can write their questions throughout the presentations, and we have dedicated slots after each presentation and also at the end of all presentations, and we'll direct to the best speaker depending on the questions we receive. So use the chats throughout the meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pina.
There is a hand raised, or was it a mistake?
No, it wasn't. Thank you.
There you
Very
go.
interesting. Very nice presentation, very nice project. I don't know if I didn't hear it well, but how did you profile those who were interviewed and actually categorized that the actions were technocratic or not? I mean, how did you profile those who were interviewed for that? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It wasn't an exhaustive survey, so we basically used back-to-back events organized by the Bridge Project to push these questions. So it was mostly opportunistic and not designed as a real social experiment. That would be a next step to me. We could have something more extensive and robust to showcase. That's really a teaser using the people that we had at RASP.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harris, for your question. Anybody else would like to take the floor? Also, how long was the study conducted?
It took about a year to both develop the scenarios, test it with the Bridge partners, and then with the stakeholders. So yeah, overall a year with 2 people involved. Well, not full time, but it's still a long exercise to project like every detail of these potential futures.
Thank you, Clément. Thank you, Anna, for your question. I think we will move on to the next presentation. And if you have any other questions, anyway, we will have like a dedicated session at the end of the 3 presentation. So this is my turn to present the work scenario related that we've been conducted as part of the Bridge Black Sea project. So as mentioned before, my name is Alice Guittard. I'm from the Athens University of Economic and Business, and as part of the Bridge Black Sea project, I've been coordinating the co-design of transformative pathways at the pilot site level. So, but first of all, what do we mean by transformative pathways? So the broad definition is, so transformative pathways refers to a trajectory or route of change that leads to a fundamental and significant shift in a system, process, or situation to depart from a current and sustainable practices to transition towards a desirable sustainable states, challenging the status quo and leading to more resilient, equitable, and sustainable outcome. In the context of Bridge, transformative pathways have been co-designed with local stakeholders in each of the pilot sites of the project. And local stakeholders identified a portfolio of short, mid, and long-term actions, including technological, social, institutional innovations, but also management measures and best practices that could be replicated in the Black Sea context. And all those actions are deemed to be necessary to transform key blue sectors towards sustainabilities in order to reach the future that has been envisioned by those stakeholders. And so within the Black Sea project, we've been co-developing 2050 stakeholder vision at the local scale. And so those transformative pathways, we've been implementing them within what we call living labs. So as part of the Bridge Black Sea project, we've been implementing sustainability living lab. So living labs are our participatory approach that are directed to support the end user needs, and where we bring together local stakeholders that are focusing on a specific challenge. And the end result of such approach is aim at better answering the needs and challenges and issues that those particular stakeholders are facing. And so as part of the Bridge Black Sea project, we've been using those living labs to identify needs, priorities, opportunities, and challenges related to marine ecosystem services, as well as the sustainable development of the blue economy. And there we've been trying to explore different type of innovations and solutions that could tackle the specific challenges related to the sustainable development of the blue economy. And within those living labs, we've been so developing visions and pathways, and also identifying potential recommendations. And the whole concept behind the living lab within the Bridge Black Sea project was based on the system innovation approach. Again, a very stakeholder-driven approach that mix so stakeholder analysis and innovations approaches. So in a more concrete way, we've been implementing living labs in 5 different locations throughout the Black Sea region. And those living labs, they've been centered around 3 rounds of workshops. So we had the first round of workshop in 2022, where there we focus on scoping the problem. So really mapping the main issue, challenges, trying to understand what are all the different perspectives on the issue related to marine ecosystem services management and the sustainable development of the blue economy. And within those workshops in each of the living lab in the Black Sea, we had representatives from all the blue economy sectors that are currently operating in the region. And those stakeholders were representative of private and public sectors, research and academia, as well as civil society, such as NGOs and associations. And we had, following a better understanding and scoping of the problem, we had the second one, a workshop in 2023, where there we really focused on envisioning a sustainable future. So each of the stakeholders, so representing those different blue economy sectors, they come together to agree on a future narratives that will describe how they see their region in 2050. Ideally, what they would like their region to be. So really having this sustainability approach. And those future narrative, there are a specific focus on how each of the blue economy sectors should look like, as well as the status of the marine environment. And finally, in 2024, so last year, we developed transformative pathways, which are supposed to lead to this envisioned future. So the development of the transformative pathways started from those envisioning futures. So we have future visions for 6 of our pilot sites. So from the Bulgarian Black Sea coastline, the Romania Danube area, the Sinop region in Turkey, the northwestern Black Sea in Odessa Bay, the Batumi region in Georgia, and the Istanbul Bosphor region in Turkey. And those future visions, they actually provide goals, key targets that should be achieved by 2050. And within those future visions, we can identify what are the key sectors that needs to go through a transformation, so a system transformations to reach sustainable states. And in terms of sectors, so most of all the case studies focused on the same sectors. So they develop pathways for the aquaculture sectors, the fisheries, the ports and shipping transport, the coastal and marine tourism, as well as renewable energies, and also some pathways for marine observations and environmental management. And some of the case studies also had the necessity to develop dedicated pathways on governance and social well-being. So now I will give you some insight of what was the example of like specific targets and potential actions that should be implemented within the Black Sea region. So because we realized that there is a lot of commonality throughout the different pilot sites and regions in the Black Sea. So if we look at the aquaculture sectors, so the main targets were around building a skilled workforce, developing the necessary infrastructures, because at the moment this sector is pretty much non-existent when it comes to marine aquaculture in the region. It's also about adopting innovative technologies, as well as farming a diverse range of products. And in order to reach those main targets, so innovative technologies have been identified many times, which is, for instance, about smart disease control, smart underwater monitoring systems, or the adoption of multi-trophic aquaculture systems, for instance. But also beside those innovative technologies, there is a real need to support the sectors through specialized education and training programs. So really upskilling and reskilling the workforce, as well as developing raising awareness campaigns directed at the civil society for enhancing the adoption of aquaculture projects. And also the sectors is really in need of financial incentive schemes. So if we look at the tourism sectors, so how to drive the tourism sectors towards sustainability within the regions. So here, many of the actions that have been identified concern energy efficient systems and smart eco-friendly infrastructures, with a particular focus on waste management and transport, which has been identified as the weak kind of sectors within the tourism sectors, and the component that are most impacting the environment at the moment. And the sectors is also expected to transition towards sustainability through the adoption of alternative and sustainable tourism activities. A lot of emphasis has been made on cultural heritage and underwater cultural heritage, and the use of digital tools that could really enhance tourism experience, such as the adoption of virtual reality tool. And on the side, also, once again, the tourism sectors is in need of education program and training for the workforce, especially so on sustainable practices. And there is also a real need on strengthening environmental regulations for the tourism sectors. So looking at the development of renewable energies, so this is an emerging sectors in the region, as all of you know by now. So most of the actions are first of all in how to boost these sectors in the region. So obviously there is a real need in terms of legal and governance frameworks, on further developing research and development programs. Public and private partnerships are seen as a great opportunity to boost the development of the sectors in the regions. And also, once again, a real need of skilled and highly specialized workforce, which currently is a bit of a gap within the region. If we look at potential technology, so quite quite a diverse range of technologies that have been mentioned that should support and the development of the sectors, but as well on the sustainability side. And here, so as example, it's been mentioned the implementation of automate system and artificial intelligence to optimize the work processes and management of offshore wind farm. Because essentially what has been mentioned and most of the pathways within each of the countries are really much focusing on offshore energies, offshore wind energy, sorry, and not so much on the other type of renewable energy at this stage. It has been also mentioned many times the need for new material and structures for offshore wind turbines to reduce the ecological footprint and minimize the impact on the environment, as well as one of the key aspects for really developing the sectors in a sustainable manner will be the development of more efficient and sustainable battery technologies for energy storage. When it comes to marine environment observation and management, so here throughout the world regions, we had like a common targets. So stakeholders really aimed at having a restored, well-functioning and well-protected Black Sea marine biodiversity by 2050. This is really one of the key goals. And in order to reach such a target, there is a real need to strengthen and expand the network of marine protected areas, which will include a participatory approach as well as ecosystem-based management. In order to achieve such objectives, there is great expectation in the development of new technologies, such as advanced underwater monitoring systems, with the use of drones, autonomous vessels, and other technologies that could support more effective and efficient environmental monitoring. And there is also lots of expectation in terms of using citizen science. And here the development of new like smart monitoring device is expected to boost citizen science, and then so the monitoring and collection of data on the environment at the local level. Some of stakeholders, so in some of the living labs, have been mentioning the digital twin of oceans as a new tool that could really boost environmental monitoring and protection, and with a particular emphasis actually on the use of the DTO for fast response to environmental threats, which is quite interesting. And finally, so the last sectors, but not the least, which of course is one of the sectors that have been condensed the biggest discussions, let's say, and a lot of targets and solutions have been mentioned to support the transition of the fishing sectors towards sustainability. Because obviously it has been mentioned many times. It's one of the sectors that do impact quite a lot the marine environment, but also that needs the transformations in order to support to have a like a certain viability towards the future. Because in the context of a depletion of the stocks, there is a real need for the fishery sectors to adopt new practice. And in terms of key targets for such sectors, we can mention enhancing knowledge and monitoring of fish stocks for sustainable management, promoting the use of sustainable fishing techniques, implementing upskilling and reskilling program in order for the workshop to be able to adopt new standards and sustainable practices. But also the sectors really will benefit from strengthening collaboration between scientists and fishermen, as well as an international cooperation, so at the Black Sea regional level. And finally, there is a real need of strengthening law enforcement. So this is something that has been recurring throughout all the living labs when it comes to the fishery sectors. How to achieve those targets? So we've really come across a mix of social and technological innovations along specific management measures. So again, like linked to those targets, I can mention the adoption of advanced fishing selectivity techniques, as well as zero net emission vessel. The adoption of automated fishery monitoring and management systems to track and regulate fishing activities. So here it's really to tackle the issue of illegal fishing. There's been mentioned quite a few times the need to adopt advanced processing and preservation technologies to reduce waste production. So here we're talking about the supply chain and not just the fishing activities at sea. So there is also a need to improve the traceability within the seafood supply chain. So some stakeholders have been mentioned the opportunities that the blockchain technologies can provide in improving the safety of the supply chain. And all of those activities and those targets, once again, should be supported by education programs, awareness campaigns, and professional training in order to support the workforce in adopting new skills and being able to operate with those latest technologies. And finally, the eco-labeling certifications and reward systems is seen as good opportunistic tools to again support the sustainability of the fishing sectors. So to finish with the sectors, all of the regions, the Living Labs, so have been developing pathways for greening port and shipping sectors. Here, the main target is to integrate low emission and renewable energy source and improving the management of solid and liquid waste at sea and in port facilities. So key actions that should be implemented relate to the development and implementation of low emission technologies within the vessels and the port operations. So here we're really focusing on reducing air pollution as well as fuel consumptions. So there is this zero net carbon emission behind such actions. There is also the adoption of digital tools within the port operation and logistics, such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and drones that really should smooth and make the port logistic much more efficient and effective. I can mention also the adoption of automated monitoring systems for pollution control and enhancing incident response, as well as ensuring the implementation of international regulation within the Black Sea ports. So that's it for highlighting what were the main actions that are forming those transformative pathways to lead to sustainability by 2050. Those pathways, they also include the identification on the main organizations that should implement those actions, as well as a set of barriers and enablers that could prevent or support the implementation of the different actions that have been identified. We also are illustrating those transformative pathways with a concrete example of technological and social innovations that have been already tested, implemented, successfully adopted elsewhere in Europe or at the international level, and how those could be replicated in the Black Sea. So those pathways, so those set of actions, they're also we are running a resilience analysis of the pathways in order to ensure or to assess whether those set of actions they will effectively support the resilience of the ecosystem services within the regions and are not just essentially driven by economic growth. And finally, we are also mapping the potential financial instruments that could be mobilized by Black Sea stakeholders in order to implement those specific actions, as we really want to have those pathways as operational as possible. What's next? So those pathways, we really aimed at having them as decision support tools for guiding blue economy strategies at the local level or at the national level, and also as a way to drive investment in the long term. They will be available in a dedicated user-friendly report by the end of June, and also a summary for policymakers. So with the key elements will be available in the Bridge Black Sea Blue Economy Observatory platform that will be launched in the coming months, and you will get more information on that. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alice. We can ask if there are any questions. We are a bit ahead of the program, but we can use this time at the end of all the presentations. Oh, sorry, now go ahead.
I want to ask a question. So all the aspects presented in the strategy are very ambitious and very needed in the Black Sea ecosystem. I was wondering if there are any plans for really implementing those after the bridge project ends. For example, I don't know, building some other projects that will support part of these actions.
Yes, exactly. That's the aim. So as much as we can within the bridge project, we're trying to provide all the tools that we have in our hands to support the implementation of those actions. And then in terms of how to concretely implement them, yeah, it's not in our hands anymore, but on our side we can look for like additional funds at the European level and look like what could be the upcoming project. But those actions also, they need to be taking into the hands of local, regional, national stakeholders. I mean, this is why we are trying within those pathways to identify who could be the key lead organizations who should take the lead in going towards the implementation, of each of those actions. It cannot just be based on European funds, definitely not. And I think that the SRIA is also giving a hint on potential financial instruments that could be mobilized. This is what we're going to do on our side also. So we really we provide a set of, if you want to implement this action, if you are interested in this, those are the type of instruments, financial supports that you could mobilize to move towards actions. So it will really has to be a collaboration of, okay, on one side, maybe the research community, but then, on the other side, practitioners, the industries, the policymakers need to take actions on that side.
Yeah, no, but I was wondering, for example, okay, the project financing, the European financing, it's something that at least we can find out about the calls and submit project proposals. But in terms of, I don't know, motivating the governmental players in the Black Sea countries to contribute with funds, I don't know. I think that this path can be more difficult.
That's true on one side, and on the other side, the idea is that all those actions they're aimed at developing the sectors. It's not just going towards sustainability. I mean, sustainability, yes, it's the environmental aspect, it's the social aspect, but it's also the economic aspect. So it's not just about limiting the impact on the environment. It's also a trajectory towards sustainability that. No matter what, there will be some policy constraints that the sectors will have to adapt to, and those sets of actions shows like it's not the only way, of course, but it's an example of like how locally everybody agrees on those actions are necessary. So of course, then, I mean, if there is no political will, then we cannot do anything. This is the end result. But we are trying to like showcase that there is real like needs and willingness to implement those actions, to have them implemented. That's the
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Fred, do you want to go?
Yes, just to complement what has been said by Alice, I think that it's also the purpose that we are trying to do, building on what we've done. We have the AgTech Summit and the Black Sea Accelerator that you get the benefit of. The type of processes that we set were demonstrated, first of all, readiness and interest of innovators and SMEs in the Black Sea. So it's also what we are trying to promote via deliverables for Yendover and sustainability of BridgeBS to see how we can continue and to set in the Black Sea similar mechanism to support and then to raise also, as you said, interest not only of the European Commission but also at national and local level, public authorities, to see how they can contribute and get the benefits, which is not only based on sustainability, but also on GVA and job creations based on innovation, which are fully aligned with Black Sea realities and local needs. So it's really, I would say, one of the purpose of a bridge and of Yendover to see how we can ensure follow-up and a blending maybe of funding opportunities on that.
Exactly, and local realities and local needs. This is really like the key elements. Pina, yes.
I was gonna reiterate what Frederick was saying, but this is also why we are here today. Today we have many participants from policymakers, funding agencies, ministries, and they are also the ones in some living labs that contributed to the development of this vision. So what we are doing here today is to tell them that there is a need, there is this vision, so that they can also streamline, because often the governments, when they are doing their agendas, they also look at these kind of developments, pathways, visions, when they are allocating sources as well. So this is one of the aims of the webinar series. I see Matteo, maybe he wants to also.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know how to raise my hand, so I do it physically. Thanks a lot and well done, everyone. I see 80 people, very good. Yeah, a little bit building on Fred, and I mean, there are two now dynamics, mainly at the regional level in terms of policy and strategy, which are connected one to another. And there is the CMA, there is the Common Maritime Agenda, who's currently led by Ukraine. So I see some maybe Ukrainian colleagues. So good to have that in mind, because there will also be events in each country, but then the regional event. And there is also this revision of what was the Black Sea Synergy strategy, which is more of a strategy for bilateral cooperation between Europe and the other countries, which is also where a lot of money will be channeled, I assume. And the blue economy, in the evaluation of this strategy, I can then paste the link here. The blue economy and the CMA and Bridge and Doors, where they play quite a substantial role in terms of evidence. So that strategy is currently to be revised. I assume might be published very soon, although clearly the political dimension now are changing by the day. But so it's also an area where I suspect all this input could flow, because it will be then part, the basis for bilateral relation and financial support. And we tried, also I'm linking maybe with the accelerator and the other thing that we do, we try to pass the message that like local financing and financing mechanisms should also support for direct grant to scaling up innovation in all these areas, because it's not just capacity, but also money to be able to scale up innovative solution. And we've noticed that will be part of some policy feedback we will give you. We notice a substantial lack of available financing stream. particularly when it comes to investment and support and grant and support investment at the local and regional level in this area. So the needs are great, and the financial capacity is there, but not really channeled to those needs. So it still remains a valuable gap.
Thank you, Matteo, for your comment. Yeah, very valuable indeed. Anybody else wants to react? And if not, we might move to the third and last presentation, and then we're going to have another round of discussions anyways. So the third presentation will be made by Sofia Bozzi from CNR. Sofia is a PhD student at the Institute of Marine Science of CNR in Venice. And her research focuses on methodologies to model environmental impacts and pressures in support of marine management and marine spatial planning. And today she will present the Bridge Black Sea scenarios on the desired scenarios based on cumulative impact assessment. Sofia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alice, for the introduction. Can you see full screen my presentation?
We do.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. I will be presenting our work on analyzing environmental effects of future scenarios in the Black Sea. So it's a more quantitative and spatial approach compared to the ones that you have seen so far, but it heavily relies on the work done by or presented by Alice and Clément earlier today, as you will see. So to start with, what kind of scenarios did we work on? We defined our scenarios as desired scenarios. So if we look at the futures cone here, they fall into this area that I've highlighted. They are plausible scenarios, but also preferable, as Alice mentioned before. And in particular, the definition that we gave of our desired scenarios is that of future realistic states of human activities at sea or on land, which influence ecosystems and resources in the sea, and which target the development of a sustainable blue economy under projections of climate change. So they are both predictive scenarios in that they integrate predictive data of climate change simulations, and as I will show later, but they are also explorative scenarios in that we took into account the desires and visions of local stakeholders for a preferred future in the Black Sea. So in terms of the spatial domain of our analysis, we focused on 3 pilot sites in the western side of the Black Sea. So the Bosphorus site, the Varna and Burgas region, and the Danube Delta, and then also the Black Sea as a whole as a basin-wide study area. And in developing the future desired scenarios for 2050, we adopted a slightly different approach for the 2 spatial scales. So the pilot site scale scenarios were based on or took as a starting point the future visions that were developed in the 3 rounds of living labs that Alice mentioned earlier. So the goals and targets that were set by the local stakeholders for 2050 were the starting point for the development of our regional scale scenarios or pilot site scale. Whereas for the basin scale scenarios, we, let's say, took inspiration from the imaginaries presented by Clément. And in particular, we looked at ecotopia and unity in adversity. And both of these, let's say, visions or narratives for future scenarios were translated into spatial data for our analysis, with the help also of additional information from literature or knowledge from local experts or policy documents like maritime spatial plans on the status and trends of different maritime sectors in the Black Sea that you see here. And also we included projections of climate change simulations that were developed in the modeling work package of the Bridge BS project. And in particular, we included climate simulation for fish biomass and distribution of 8 different fish species of commercial interest that you see at the top of the slide here. We included nutrient input from land-based activities, climate simulations, and also micro and macroplastic distributions from land-based activities, so rivers and coastal cities. And all of this was for the SSP1 climate projection. So the methodology that we use for our analysis of cumulative impacts is a risk-based cumulative effects assessment framework. So it's based on the development of a context for each pilot site or study area in terms of risk, and then on a cumulative effects assessment analysis, which combines different spatial and quantitative layers of human activities, the pressures they generate in the sea, and the environmental components they impact. And it takes into account all the possible interactions between these 3 components to produce spatial and quantitative results of different types. So to show you some of our key findings for the different study areas, in this slide I put the cumulative impact score maps for the 3 pilot sites for 2050. And also the contribution of different categories of human activities to the total cumulative impact score, both in 2020. So the analysis of the present condition was always taken as a frame of reference for our analysis on the future state, and in 2050. So what we found across all pilot sites was that adopting a green shipping approach, so adopting measures in the maritime transport sector that would decrease the pressures associated to this activity would significantly reduce the cumulative impact score in all 3 pilot sites, and that is the pink blocks here. We also found that implementing a trawling ban along the coast in all 3 pilot sites, and also limiting fishing activities in marine protected areas had a huge impact on decreasing the impacts caused by fishing. And you can see that specifically in pilot site 2, where the blue block is very much smaller in 2050. However, we see that there is an expected increase in nutrient input, which causes the impacts from land-based activities to remain the same, if not increase in the future. And that is a particular problem in pilot site 3, where the Danube Delta region. And finally, the other category in light blue here includes essentially new offshore wind farms and aquaculture farms that we implemented in the future scenarios. And these causes localized impacts in some of the regions. So we can also flip this around and look at the cumulative impacts perceived by different environmental receptors. In particular, we looked at the different fish species of commercial value, marine mammals, and seabed habitats. Of course, fish species are the most impacted environmental component, as fisheries is an important activity in the region. However, we do see a decrease in the impacts suffered by these species in the future due to the reduction of fishing effort in general, in particular of trawling. And this leads also to a reduction of the effects suffered by seabed habitats, which are affected by trawling activities through abrasion and smothering. And finally, we also see a decrease, less significant, but a slight decrease in the impacts perceived by marine mammals, which suffer from bycatch or underwater noise caused by fishing vessels. Yeah. We can also look at the comparison with the present situation. So on the plots on the right-hand side here, you see the percentual difference with the cumulative impact score in 2020. So here we can really highlight how new offshore wind farms or aquaculture farms developed in the future state cause a drastic increase in cumulative impacts compared to the present. and those are the dark brown areas. However, this is a relative change. So as you can see, for example, this region was, can you see my pointer? Maybe I will use this. This region is an area that we allocated to offshore wind farms, and it has a high relative change compared to the 2020. However, it does not result in extremely high cumulative impact score. So these activities, the same happens for aquaculture farms, which are here on the coast. So these activities cause a change compared to the cumulative impacts in 2020. However, we conclude that their impacts are compensated by positive change in the other sectors, as overall the cumulative impact score in 2050 is always lower than in 2020 for all the pilot sites. So we can conclude that the desired scenarios are more sustainable than the current situation, at least in terms of cumulative impacts. We also tested two different visions at basin scale. As I mentioned before, we looked at two imaginaries, Ecotopia and Unity and Adversity, and we attempted to translate these narratives and qualitative considerations into spatial instances to produce this spatial analysis. And what we found in general is that the Ecotopia imaginaries produces a decrease in the cumulative impact score compared to 2020, whereas Unity and Adversity produces a comparable increase in cumulative impact score. So Ecotopia appears as a more effective pathway towards reaching MSFD and MSPD objectives in the future, in particular through a significant reduction of fishing effort and the implementation of a network of marine protected areas across the entire basin. However, we should point out here as well that the nutrient input from land-based activities remains a major issue in both scenarios, as you can see the red blocks here. So overall, of the management measures or future developments that we have tested, we concluded that adopting a green shipping approach and prioritizing small-scale fisheries and banning trawling along the coast both caused a significant decrease in the cumulative impacts and can be recommended as sustainable practices. Restricting fishing activities, of course, leads to positive outcomes, but more protected areas are needed in the Black Sea in order to reach the EU biodiversity strategy targets. And the development of new offshore wind and aquaculture farms caused localized increase in cumulative impacts in certain regions, but overall a small increase in the total cumulative impact score in each of the study areas. So for our next steps, some of them are internal to the project. For example, we are going to be contributing to the 2030 Blue Roadmap for the Black Sea with the results from our desired scenarios. And we're also going to be developing recommendations for adaptive management measures to be implemented in the Black Sea to reach MSP and MSFD targets. But more generally, we're going to capitalize on our results and tools by integrating them into the Black Sea digital twin to attempt to bring an MSP user-centered perspective to the functionalities of the DTO. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much. I will give the floor back to Alice, and if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Sophia, for your presentation. Very interesting and very useful scenarios. I see one question on the chat. I can read it. I think it's directed at you, Sophia. So would you mind including the sea mines as the emerging threat and respectively demining as an important pilot cooperative action for the Black Sea? So this is in relation to the war, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this year.
Maybe I will redirect this question to Andrea if he is here, or Stefano.
Stefano, Andrea, who wants to take the floor?
Well, maybe I can answer from the more specific, more general part while Andrea and Stefano are coming in. In Bridge BS projects, other aspects that I've shown, like the resilience analysis, have included the effect of war in their models, for example, and also, as some of you know, the Black Sea Syria implementation plan have dedicated a team on investigating the impact of war in the ecosystem as well. And from our observation work package, our Ukrainian colleagues, some of them are also here, are working on the eDNA analysis, which are also and also impact of war in biodiversity, as you are asking, Pavel, as well. So in different aspects of the project that has been included both in the Syria and also here. And lastly, I was mentioning that some of the modeling work, the socioeconomic parts, all will feed into the demonstrator of the Black Sea that the project will develop. So that will be a decision support tool, through which will be possible to have different layers of multi-stressors, one of which is such activities and they as a stressor on the ecosystem and the services. That will be from the other aspects of the project. If some of my colleagues want to add to that.
Yeah, regarding the mines, the question, I suppose he's referring mainly to the old wars activity that now is the main trait of the sea. We decide to exclude. We developed some comparative analysis in terms of some, let's say, comparative analysis in terms of some indicator like the traffic, but we didn't consider this aim. It was too difficult to incorporate in our analysis, so we avoid this aspect to cover this aspect. Of course, we can try to integrate some main issues, but at the moment, maybe in the next future, we can try to incorporate at least a couple of major issues related to the war. Yeah, but so far we avoid to include that, because it would be impossible to consider, especially, of course, this kind of tool needs a lot of information in terms of data and the quantitative data and the spatial explicit data. So at the moment, it was difficult. Not at the moment, it was difficult to have this kind of information at good level of accuracy. Maybe we can try to incorporate using some in the next future, for example, including in the DTO in some more advanced example, a couple of these issues. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this also answers the latest question from Anna. In terms of the difficulty in obtaining the data on all of the different environmental components and activities in the Black Sea, and also having it be consistent across all of the layers. It's not easy and it takes time, so it is difficult to update it at the last minute like that, unfortunately.
But as I said, other parts of the project are, of course, addressing these issues. For example, the project has started in 2021, and there have been seagoing activities since that point of view. But the partners also use their own historical data from the observations, and the seagoing activities continuing even in 2025, which of course give us the before and after view in terms of some of the data, some of the parameters, and our Ukrainian colleagues, UKRSS, they have also provide that kind of information. They are also including some of their latest finding in modeling and in eDNA and in other parts of the project as well. So the final results of the project will definitely address the latest trends on the war effect on the ecosystem.
All right, thank you very much, Pinar, for the precision. If we don't have any other questions, I think we can move to the final part, the wrap-up part before we have like a couple of questions to ask you. So I'm going to give the floor to Frédéric that will give like the overview of the three scenarios and how they can be used actually and by who. Fred, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon. It depends where we are. And maybe just to complement what have been said just before, I think that the added value of what has been done so far and presented is to demonstrate that we have been able to integrate a lot of things, but there's still being a lot of things to do, but that is gathering information, implementing tools in the Black Sea provide, I would say, for me, a very good demonstration what could be within the future DTO for the Black Sea, targeting specific needs as the ones that you raised and are very critical for that. Just to illustrate, because the aim of this webinar is also to consider the variety of stakeholders, the potential needs. We would like maybe, Pinar, if you could maybe display the slide. We try to make an exercise to map why and who could be interested in the three products which were delivered and presented just before by my three colleagues, and thanks for them for their presentations, to illustrate how it can be considered. So for this, and then we maybe, I guess, via the audience that we have, we can also have confirmation or also some comment from your side. We decided to split the word, I would say, between various categories of stakeholders. The first one is international organizations, and for us, we would say that the three imaginary scenarios from this pathway, all the things which were just presented, are for us really key drivers or key tools which could be considered to make any update on scientific research innovation agendas, to update policy level, in particular at regional level for the Black Sea, and as Matteo said, for instance, for the Common Maritime Agenda. We also consider and think that for national administration, so that means all the people who are really in charge of public actions, such as ministries and agencies, implementing environmental and sectoral policies, imaginaries can, for instance, support the development of blue economic strategies in a nested approach. As you may have seen, the way it has been implemented was done in a top-down approach, just shifting a global overview at regional level. We mustn't forget that what we are designing is everything is linked, so there's a sea-basin approach, but also to foster public consultation in prospective approach, which is not so common, I would say, in the use. Terms and Petit's pathway are there to support the development of blue economy strategies, and as a consequence, to support them in decision making, and of course, design scenarios and the way you assess cumulative impact illustrates how they can imagine and design the planning and manage the maritime space in allowing, permitting, but also monitoring all the activities as is, existing one, but also potential ones. Third categories, blue economy operators. So the ones who are mainly linked to the sea and taking advantage of them. So all of them are away the three typology that we had in front of you, are good tools to anticipate and to adapt, because we need to pave the way also to give some visibility for our blue economy operators to orient and to also in their initiatives, the investments, and to define and to consider for them in liaison with national authorities, administrations, how they can really adjust and consider the way they can invest in the Black Sea, and also to consider any management measures which can be related to this, and promote and to consider innovation. Just to illustrate, you saw that Patrons of the Pathway illustrated potential areas of development of innovations for each sectors. You saw that Imaginaries displayed we use two drivers, one governance, one innovation, and we see to which extent innovation could be a key driver for development or considered within the measures. So that like that, you see it provides them some insights where they can go on that. On the next slide, we considered practitioners, so people really engage in using the blue economy. We consider that most of them will take advantage of the fact that they can use these tools to raise awareness, to raise interest on the way we designed the blue economy and potential vision which can be associated for that, in order to support and to support the way they can debate on sustainability, transitions, maybe to pave the way for what they could be the future for the Black Sea, whatever the scale, regional or to local. For NGOs and civil society, it's of course a way for them to raise interest, awareness on sustainability, climate neutrality, to orient programs, implement specific measures for them. So also a way to gather and to be around the table on that, and of course to support active participation in policy-making processes. Nothing is really granted, so it's important to have some tools to design and to probably assess what could be done, and in line, of course, with NGOs and so the civil society needs. And of course, and last and not least, research and academia. All these teams, all these tools which have been developed are based on research and academia. So they can be, of course, a way for them to go ahead, to implement them, to strengthen them within in a transversal approach, linking socio and ecological transdisciplinary research, but also to support and maybe to go ahead, not maybe, but surely to go ahead on how they can continue building on, engaging maybe the forces within the stakeholders community or related to research and academia, to contribute. I think that most of the people research academia can easily see that they can contribute, for instance, by providing data, gathering data, or all these activities are pivotal, and we already raised the issue of data availability. Last slide, as a conclusions for who and the why, we wanted to literally illustrate that with these three outcomes of a project, the three processes which were depicted, you have been able to have an overview of a combination of, we'd say, methodology, which are really being developed to design and to support the design of scenarios for the blue economy for the Black Sea, in a prospective approach and a qualitative approach, with top-down approach, as already said, to design the futures. To be a fully inclusive approach, we have a living labs, and then you have a mix between the top-down and then bottom-up processes on that. So there's a merging point on that. And last point, which is quite for us very pivotal, because beyond the qualitative, we need some quantitative approach, thanks to the assessment of potential impact of the desired futures, including modal outputs, social economic trends at pilot sites, at regional level, so like that everybody at whatever the scale they are working on can have a full understanding, I would say, of what could be the decision and the way scenarios could be on that. As already mentioned by my colleagues, all these components are things which are to be included or to be expected to be within a digital twin ocean for the Black Sea at regional and national levels, to support decision makers in developing sustainable blue economies at national level, and also to make them also aware that there's really a need to develop sustainable blue economies and to support them within dedicated strategies, but also to raise awareness and to engage the society on maritime affairs. Is not always obvious. We are fully aware of that we need to demonstrate the added value, and maybe also to be fully aware of impacts our decisions. And as already mentioned by Alice, as a conclusion, this is the first step will be done via a capitalization within the which is to be newly launched, or at least open for public, via the Black Sea Blue Economy Observatory, which is been developed by BridgeBS, and on which you will find all the details which are associated which has been developed by our colleagues federating on this in a perspective of knowledge sharing and best practices. This is more or less what we wanted to do and to display during this webinar, with why we wanted to propose that and for who. I think that now we have room for intervention, maybe to raise a question from the audience, how they feel that. And I think that we have also some pulse questions which will be asked very soon to continue, and then to close, I don't know, very soon, but not now, this webinar. Alice, I'll leave it you for floor.
Thank you very much, Frédéric, for those concluding remarks and the overview of how to actually use those tools and those scenarios. I think we're going to move now to the pool. Excuse me. Well, if anybody has some questions, please.
I see there's a question from Anna on the chat.
I think we replied that earlier.
Yes, we did reply.
Already? Okay, great.
Okay. So while we will.
I am. Oops.
Yeah.
Wait. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Alice, and I will.
Yeah, I was saying why you will display the pool. I can just reshare the full slide of how the different the scenario flows within the Black Sea project, and how the different scenarios feed one another and provide a quite holistic approach and views of how the sustainable blue economy could look like in the future, could be developed, and which kind of impact they could have on the marine ecosystem and ecosystem services. And reminding you that this will be all of those findings will be summarized in one full blue policy roadmap that will be launched at the end of the project at our final conference event at the end of October.
Yeah,
I think. So please do answer the poll.
Yes, we can leave the pool for a minute. Now 20% has replied already.
And please, if you have any question, don't hesitate to raise your hand or put it on the chat, or even contact us after the webinar. We are more than happy to answer. And we will be circulating those findings. They will be available so through reports, of course, from the project, but also they will be accessible in a summarized format within the Black Sea Blue Economy Observatories that the Bridge project is currently developing. We will have a launch around May or June for our first version, and to be able to access some of those information that are already available in regards to the scenarios. And our main purpose is really to to try to disseminate those scenarios in the most effective and user-friendly ways to really highlight the key messages and not overburn you with lengthy reports.
So 50% of our participants has responded, but in the meantime, we can ask any questions. We can get any questions that our participants may have. I am looking at the chat and the participant lists. Yes, we have a question from Brett.
Okay, I don't see the chat. Okay. Will the different scenarios be available as standalone decision support tools or only as part of the wider DTO demonstrator? They will be available as a standalone decision support tools, absolutely. Because each of them have their own purposes and target users and also way of actually using them. So they will be available. Yes. So yeah, so you have already access to the full report on the imaginary scenarios. The desired scenarios and the transformative pathways are still to be made publicly available. So for the transformative pathways, it's still they are currently being consolidated as I mentioned before. So we have the main component in terms of actions and to be implemented, but there is all the complementary aspects that are still being developed, and it will be finalized by the end of June. And we will have a final round of living labs, so of interactions with stakeholders, where we will present the final version of the transformative pathways to get final feedbacks and comments before the final release. So I'm guessing for the desired scenarios based on cumulative impact assessment and the transformative pathways, they will be available throughout the summer, I'm guessing.
I mean, it's safe to say that towards the end of the year, pretty much everything will be available on the DTO and on different publications, on different material. I am ending the poll and I will display the results. If you want to say anything about that, Alice or the others?
Yes, the only thing is that I'm not sure what 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, so the 5, the yellow one is the most useful. Oh, and then there's 2 trees apparently, but the light blue one is, I don't know how you see it, but the way I see it, yeah, the yellow one is the most useful. The turquoise is 4 on the scale of 1 to 5.
Maybe one question to pose to the audience is what they mean by useful and how they would use this, why they think this is useful and what type of thing they can take out of this. Because also, I don't know if useful is perceived as the most probable or the more reliable, or anyway, it would be nice to see how they intend, how they feel they can use this, because could be also an input for us to further develop maybe our recommendation.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of people from governmental organizations, so it would be great to hear from that on that.
Or even just writing a few lines in the chat if they don't want to post too much.
I guess we overloaded our participants with a lot of information and new ideas.
This is something we could ask in our upcoming event also,
Yes, exactly.
and refine them a little bit more. The questions.
We have a simpler poll to know really who you are. Yeah, while we are commenting and getting questions, I will leave this open on the sides so that we also have a better idea where you are from, which country you are from. I just, combination of the three approach. Yeah, we mentioned that, but maybe we can mention one final time.
Indeed. And I think especially, I mean, related to the desired scenarios, from where adaptive management measures are derived, and those adaptive management measures, they are like fully integrated within the transformative pathways. So the transformative pathways is also those management measures, and they are based on this more like quantitative aspect. So in a more, let's say, like robust way, in a way we ensure that those adaptive measures, they do not harm the environment, and they do lead to the expected impact that they are aiming for. So in terms of the imaginary scenario, so here and the transformative pathway, I think it's just two different scales, and it provides yet two different potential views of how the future of the blue economy could look like, and they are both informative. Although I would say the transformative pathway are more like on the implementation side, so we're trying to be a bit more concrete on like what you can do to reach this future. What the imaginaries are like showing us how the future could be, and then looking at specific actions, then the transformative pathways can be complementary. However, due to the different timeline within the project, we weren't able, like, let's say at this stage, to really have a strong synergies between those two approaches. But this is something that should be taken into consideration for upcoming work, and there is really a room for greater synergies on how the imaginary approach can be combined with the transformative pathways approach. So it's a first attempt that provides, I think, great insight and future opportunities for improvement in terms of methodology. I don't know how we are with the pools. Yeah.
63% of our participants have replied. I think we're not getting any more response, so I will just end it and share the results.
Okay, so a third of the audience is outside of the Black Sea. That's interesting.
Exactly. I think that's a good indication.
No, actually, it's because Romania is not there.
It's not. Oh,
It's not.
okay. Sorry about that.
Yes, indeed, Romania is not included.
Oops. Sorry. Yeah, okay. That means that probably majority is Romanian.
In Bulgaria, it's also missing.
Exactly.
No, Bulgaria
Romania,
is there.
Yeah, it's there,
Um,
but there are also quite many people from Bulgaria. And in terms of the specific fields, we have research and academia dominating. We did some international organizations participants before, but maybe they're not here with us. I saw Irina at one point.
Do we have a final set of questions or not?
We can ask one more time before we finalize if we have any more questions from the audience. If not, we can thank them for their time.
Okay, so yeah, if there is no more question, I think we're gonna close the webinar. Thank you very much to everyone for participating and attending this first series of webinar. We are very happy that we got this opportunity to present our work on the scenarios, and we hope that that is going to be useful in the future. And I can reiterate also that they will be accessible very soon, so by the summer within the Blue Economy Observatories, highlighting really the key findings, and there again it will be a very user-friendly approach for presenting those scenarios. So thank you very much to all. Thank you all. Thank you to all our speakers also. Thank you, Pinar, for great motivation and supporting me on this role.
Thank you.
So I wish you a very good rest of the day and happy Easter, and hope to see some of you in the upcoming Black Sea meetings and being able to exchange furthermore on those scenarios and upcoming work. Thank you very much.
And in the next
Thank you all.
webinars, hopefully. Yes.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Which
Thank
is
you.
Thank you.
It's on 3rd of July. We dropped it in a couple of
Okay.
times, but we have contact details for everyone. We will be sending a lot of emails again.
Well done.
Great. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.